Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us today, both in person, but of course also online. My name is Veronika Reger, and I'm responsible for the global Microsoft and SAP Alliance across all dimensions from build with, sell with, and go-to-market. Today, I will be joined by my two colleagues, 𝗦𝗽𝗲𝗸𝗶𝗸𝗀 and Skand Mittal. They are going to join us later today, and we're also lucky to have a customer joining us for a great panel discussion. As you all know, our customers are rapidly moving their SAP estate to the cloud, and they're in the need of having a partner to guide them along the journey. Transformation is not always easy, so we want to team up with all of you to make sure that we can deliver the best success to our joint customers and help them along the journey. Microsoft and SAP go back more than 30 years. Our partnership is built on trust, but also, of course, the mutual desire to deliver innovation to our customers and, of course, our partners. Our engineering teams are working side by side to make sure we maintain the best platform to run SAP workloads on, but also to integrate market-leading AI services and deliver the latest innovation. And I'm sure you all heard about the Microsoft Copilot and Joule integration throughout the keynote that we just announced, and you're going to hear more about it later today. Microsoft and SAP, we're also one of the biggest customers of each other, so we know how it is to use our own technology. We eat our own dog food, we drink our own champagne, depending on how you want to look at it. But we're very happy to provide you with the best practices, with the learnings, the reference architectures, and all that we gain throughout this journey ourselves. This partnership actually spans across all the dimensions. So SAP is heavily invested into Microsoft, not only in the area of modern workplace, but they are also using Microsoft Azure to run their internal SAP landscapes, but also key services like RISE with SAP, as you all know, business technology platform, but also a lot of the SaaS services. Microsoft, on the other side, we are long-standing customers of SAP, and we are really using all SAP services that you can think of to run our core services on one side. And as you all know, we have also been announced as the first hyperscaler a couple of years back to start our journey on adopting RISE with SAP. One of the most important things I think that we share in common with SAP, we are very much committed to our joint partner ecosystem. So we want to hear from you, we want to learn from you, we want to make sure we provide you with the latest innovation to build on top of it, to provide it to our joint customers. And also, of course, very attractive programs on how you can run those migrations faster and also help our customers innovate. Together, we were already happy and lucky, and I want to say a big, big, big thank you that we were allowed to help thousands of customers on their way to RISE with SAP or Microsoft Azure. However, I think there is still a massive opportunity ahead of us. With 2027 or 2030, depending on how you want to look at it, around the corner, there are still a lot of customers who haven't licensed S/4HANA yet. They need to go on that journey, and we want to guide them. There's a massive multi-billion-dollar opportunity, and I think we can only win if we work together, and that's why we are very happy to have you here. Now I would actually like to hand over to my colleague, 𝗦𝗽𝗻𝗶𝗸𝗀, so he can go a little bit deeper into the innovations that we are driving. Thank you, 𝗦𝗽𝗻.
So hi, guys. So let's drain 450 slides real quick on the innovation stack. Okay, honestly, I'd love to spend about 6 hours going with you on how deep our product mix is with SAP. Obviously, we're going to spend about 10 or 15 minutes here talking. But when we think about what do we have on what we call either the extend and innovate or the innovate and extend, depending on how you look at it, messaging, you think about how Microsoft surrounds SAP, and we put a heavy focus on some of our first-party products that work with SAP, specifically with BTP as well, as we put a heavy focus on, we see RISE plus BTP. Going around the wheel, obviously, we've got the platform to work with SAP, specifically SAP RISE and BTP, security messaging, the data estate, the automation story, what I'll call workplace modernization, and then the whole integration stack. The point is that we work very hard to make sure that the products that we have at Microsoft work in conjunction with what happens with SAP through BTP. Obviously, we have our first party. The other thing I also do want to mention, as we think about it, a number of ISVs also create their own product mix that also work with SAP. Guess what? That's good. As long as it lands on Azure, we're happy to support those conversations and motions as well. So when we get into conversations with partners that have, let's say, multiple practices or that specialize in certain areas, it's important to think or understand that usually there's an SAP practice and a Microsoft practice. It's very important to make sure you keep those teams talking together. Otherwise, you're going to find that everybody kind of gets into a silo. So we find, I have some bad jokes about being a dating app, but my point is that you want to spend the time to make sure that those teams are talking together, because there's many products across the SAP ecosystem, many products that Microsoft has to offer in support of that. Sometimes you may lose sight on what's best for the customer if they're not talking and working together across that ecosystem. So, compute. Let's just talk about this for a second, because what we've also found is that with customers moving to RISE plus BTP, that's almost never just that conversation. It's almost always a hybrid conversation. So there's the RISE piece, but then there's also usually a pretty large estate that lands in the customer's environment as well. So it's a hybrid environment. So the number of regions that you have and the way that those regions are set up becomes very important. So it becomes important to understand, how do you integrate those regions together? How do you make sure that the environments are secure across that stack? So obviously we invest to make sure that we have the right workloads to run SAP. Obviously we go very big in that, certified up to 32 terabytes as far as RISE goes. And in addition, we also have been hearing requests from customers to make sure that when we think about the jumping of different sizing of VMs or sizes of VMs, that we're hitting adequate jump points. Okay, so that we're providing, when a customer outgrows a certain size, that they can jump to the next size appropriately, and we're definitely working with SAP across that as well. I mentioned BTP only, 14 times so far today? So this was an important change that happened with Microsoft at Sapphire this past year. It used to be that Microsoft, yes, we had 7 regions, but not all those regions were the same. So at Sapphire this year, we made a pretty big announcement, and that announcement was that we are going to provide the same level of services, which were the services that customers were actually buying. Okay? BTP has many services that customers never actually bought, because internal SAP actually uses SAP BTP as well. Some of those services never actually got commercialized or turned on. They were just kind of made available. The reality is, what we did is worked very closely with SAP to identify the number of services that customers were actually consuming. We made this commitment to make sure that, by the way, this was an investment from Microsoft to have SAP roll those services out. This wasn't just SAP out of the goodness of their heart. This is us working together with Microsoft investment. So when we say that Microsoft is actually all in on this story, that we really are into growing BTP, we mean it, because we're putting money behind it. So real quick summary to this. Microsoft has got the 7 BTP regions that will have the same services across all regions. We are now also growing 6 additional regions. Brazil actually going live. Actually, most of the services are actually spun up already. It'll be completely live by the end of the year, and you can see there's actually a schedule there. Okay. This is just an important point, as you can see that Microsoft is pushing this BTP story. Becomes important from a partner perspective, because there's certain things that like with extensibility, like when SAP is growing out SAP Build, we're okay with that. When SAP is doing Joule Studio, it may compete with some of our product mix. That's fine. We're okay with that. It lands on Azure. It's not a compete. Like, we're supportive of the story. Obviously, we want to try to make sure that our products integrate with SAP, but if it doesn't, and we're working on something where we're trying to make sure things align, we're still supportive of landing things in BTP. Okay, I just want to make sure that message is clear. So, Copilot. Have you guys heard of Copilot? We only mentioned that the entire thing. Okay. The one thing that Satya says that I love is that it's the UX for AI. Okay? So the piece that I want to say is Copilot obviously gets across the entire Microsoft stack. When we talk about extensibility, that's where we start to talk about custom Copilots and Copilot Studio fitting into the mix. Okay, you guys, I don't have time to go too deep into that mix, but it's all goodness. But then we start to say, okay, when SAP talks about AI, it's really 3 different pillars that SAP brings that into. Generative AI, embedded, and then BTP. You guys as partners, the BTP side is very attractive, obviously, because that's where we're expecting growth in that area. The embedded story, that's where SAP is building their own stories. The generative AI stuff starts to get a little bit, what's going on there, right? Everybody continues to ask us, what's actually happening between Copilot and Joule? So, and why? Why do we need to do this, or why does it make sense? And the value proposition behind this, if you think about it, is have the digital assistant that's responsible for the stack be responsible for the stack, okay? So I'm gonna start a little demo here, and I'm gonna talk over it. I'm gonna keep talking about why the value prop. I just wanted to spin it up. It's very basic. It's a lot of RAG. But the point that I'm trying to make here of even what this demo is doing, the idea that we're trying to make that if I'm in Teams, as this example is doing, if I'm in Teams and I need to call SAP data, today, I can make that call into an SAP system if I know what system I'm calling, and I know what data I need, and I know which API I want to call. Cool, I broke the system. The point is that that's pretty easy to do, okay? But what happens if something changes? Now my cost of ownership of that environment goes up. The point to having the two systems work together, the two digital assistants, means that if I'm in Teams and I need to make a call to SAP, and I may not know the data, if I'm passing the data to Joule, Joule will know that I need data from SuccessFactors, I need data from Fieldglass, I need data from an ERP system, maybe for assets. It'll know which system it is, where the data is, which API to call to go grab that data, formulate it, and send it back to Copilot. Conversely, if I'm in Joule, the idea of what we're trying to set up, or what we are setting up, I should say, is that if I'm in Joule doing work and I need to call Copilot to go grab information related to my unstructured data related to emails or calendar invites or stuff that's in SharePoint, it's going to have the ability to go do it. And you'll have the tag so that you'll know how to go grab that information. And you'll know that where that information came from. Okay? So that's the idea behind why we're doing this. The value proposition is not, can we do it? The value proposition is about making the digital assistant for that application stack be responsible for going and getting the data and knowing exactly where it is and how to get it and how to manage that. Okay? Moving along. If you guys know that we kind of lead with security as part of all of our conversations, the important part here is, yes, we do lead with security as part of all of our conversations. We have Sentinel that plugs into BTP. We have Sentinel that plugs into RISE environments, collecting that information. We collect information from inside of a lot of the security vendors, working with them to have that information come into Sentinel. Intra is very important. There's been a number of sessions here talking about how we're working very closely across that stack for the identity pieces and building into a single sign-on. I always like to lead with security. It's always very important for us. Two quick topics, and then I'm going to hand over. Number one, AI obviously is very important to us, and the next wave is this whole agentic thought, right? And I don't want to just say agentic for, hey, agents are coming. Obviously, when you look at the whole AI leveling, and hey, we're entering into level 3 of agents. The next wave is going to be autonomous agents, which you heard we've already released at Microsoft 10, okay? The wave is coming. Autonomous agents are coming. One of the things that we keep talking about is how are those agents going to be managed? And I think that's going to be another wave that you're going to see coming out of Microsoft is how are those agents managed across a composable architecture. Okay, now I know I'm getting pretty deep, but this is going to be the fun part of what's going to happen when we think about composable architectures with SAP and autonomous agents. The next thing is, have you guys heard about this 2027 date? Okay, 2027, when the world ends for SAP environments running out of support, okay, that'll lead into a 2030 date where everything kind of falls apart, right? Okay. It is a true thing that it's important that we have to accelerate that motion because in order to get access to a lot of this innovation, whether it's AI or just using the cloud and accessing some of this innovation and even starting a transformation journey, it's not going to just happen overnight. Step one is going to be, how do I get to where I need to be? So it's easy for us just to sit up here and talk about it. What I'd love to do is bring up Skand. Skand, and come up here, and I'd love for you to come up and let's give us some real example of what this actually is from a customer perspective.
Thank you, Nathan. Actually, let me invite Ralf, who has come all the way from Switzerland to be here with us at Ignite. Round of applause for Ralf, guys. Nestle needs no introduction. I grew up eating Maggi noodles. I don't know if you know that. It's a big thing in Asia where I grew up. And Nestle, of course, is a household brand and a food conglomerate. So, Ralf, thank you. So I don't know if you know this, Nestle is one of the largest early adopters of migrating RISE, adopting RISE and doing that on Azure, right? So we thought, why not have Raz, with us and kind of share some of the best practices and his learnings and insights so that you as partners can take that as you are engaging with customers. So Ralf, why don't we just start with, really going back, just tell us about your SAP landscape and the business processes that you have built on SAP for supporting Nestle.
Yeah. Sorry, it goes all the way back to 1999. We had a quite visionary CEO at the time, Peter Probek. And he said, let's stop this, everybody does his own thing. Our IT spend on NNS was getting out of control because we had mainframes everywhere, and we had a small consolidation system back in Bavia. And he said, now we're doing business best practices, right? So internal best practices. We got hundreds of people together in Switzerland to the degree PwC at the time and Nestle were buying cars for everybody, and you went into the township and you had to press a button to find out which one was your car because there were 5 cars with exactly the same color and maybe 1 letter difference in the number plate. So it was wild times. But yeah, we started building a template all the way back in 99, and it evolved over time, right? At this time, we had built it on DB2. We had split architecture. We had a separate sauce fin combox, and then with HANA 1, we went to a single machine because then something in our size was available. And back in 2019, we started to look with SAP together. How do we can do that thing in the cloud? We don't want to invest again in data centers. Actually, we wanted to shut down 9 out of our 11 data centers and really only keep 2 feel-good ones, because some stuff you will never get into the cloud, either emotional attachments or solutions are not ready. So we went through that journey, and then obviously we looked around who can actually provide fully virtualized 24 terabyte nodes. And in 2019, some of you may remember 6 terabyte was the feel-good factor. Then Microsoft came back and said we can do 12. We said, no, we need 24. And so eventually Uli, which I was on stage here yesterday with, said, okay, we can do 24 terabyte. And then our journey started together with Microsoft. And so really when you see the RISE paper today, 80% of what's in the RISE paper, we actually wrote together with SAP, because that was the foundation of RISE today.
Excellent. So I'm sure, Ralf, you guys adopted RISE on cloud with some business outcomes in mind, right?
Yeah.
So would love if you could share with the audience what were those business outcomes? Why did you choose Azure as your cloud platform for RISE? Yeah. And then as you are looking back, what business outcomes you have been able to achieve, if you can share some of those insights with partners.
So look, we took a 2-step approach. You spoke about the 2027 deadline, right? And the 2027 deadline is real. We are in a lucky position. We have a single template since 20 years, right? For us, it's a brownfield upgrade. I'm really worried about the people who have to do a greenfield upgrade, because if you have to go business by business units, the transformation, the change management gets really fast, long and really fast expensive, right? So I'm not admiring the guys who have to do greenfield. For us, we wanted to take a 2-step approach, and that was some of the lessons we had learned when we went to HANA. When we went to HANA, we did change data centers. We went from split architecture to single system. We changed data center, and it was ugly. we had quite some problems after go live, which had some business impact. So this time we said, now let's separate it. Let's move first to the cloud, because once I'm in the cloud, it's easier also to do the testing, right? In Nestlé, I don't get more than 10-hour business downtime for such major initiatives. And I hear horror stories about other companies where they go in and I need 96 hours downtime. I would have to look for a new job, seriously, if I would ask for that. So we got that agility for supporting our brownfield upgrade. But we also got the resiliency. Right in our own data center, yes, it was gold standard data center. Everything was duplicated. But still, you got outages. Here in the US, sorry, I shouldn't say it, but one of the telco providers, they had cotton in their cooling, and they had to shut down the cooling. At the same time, on the Arizona River, I lost a mile of fiber optic, and my SAP system was down for 24 hours until everything was fixed again. Right? If I'm in a Microsoft data center, and I don't want to give you guys too much credit, but I have 6 links, I have 12 links, I have 2 data center zones. So the resiliency is a big impact for us, because as an infrastructure person, the best thing I can do for my business is system availability. 99.99 is the ultimate ambition, but I want to do it without the checkbook of a bank. Yeah? I'm a food company, I can't afford that. I don't sure you want to pay for that kind of money when you buy your Maggi noodles or your Nespresso capsules.
Excellent. So as you look back, Ralf, from the day you started planning, as you said, right, 99, which feels like a long time ago, but you started planning your cloud migration, and we all know that ERP systems are super critical to any business, right?
Yeah.
If they go down, the business goes down.
Yes.
So just wanted to understand for our partners, when you look back all the way from doing initial planning to assessment, maybe you did some proof of concept, and all the way to deployment, implementation, how did partners, and I know you worked with several partners along the journey, how did partners support you in that journey, both on the technical and the decision-making side?
Yeah. There's always 2 kinds of partners, right? There's the partners which, and I don't want to offend anybody, which come in and learn on your behalf, right? And write down and confirm what you want to do. So we didn't have that kind of partnership. We really created a partnership, and we created from day one what's really important for me, and should you ever provide services to us, get used to it. I want partnership, right? And that means we don't say you did or he did, she did. That's that company's problem. I don't have any tolerance for that. And that's what we drove from day one with the partners, right? We got them in and say, guys, how do we do that together? Yeah, we are very transparent. We're working very open-minded together. And that climate drove the success of this project. And if you talk today to people like Christian Klein or Thomas Sauer, they will tell you that that was a prime example how to run such an implementation. So partners are there, and they are partners, they are not providers, right? And really the skill set you bring to the table needs to help, right? In the whole planning exercise, if you go through that exercise, I mean, we moved 1,500 terabytes of data. We moved over 150 SAP instances per se. We had over 365 no-go calls. It gets quite intense, and you need partners who really can support you and bring your specific skill to the table in this context. And when we started, SAP started off telling us we need 48 hours downtime. And for a year and a half, we were saying, no, you get 10 hours, and that's it. Right? And again, the partners there were really important in the dress rehearsals. Right? We did cut-over practice after cut-over practice. Yeah, and you're looking for minutes, and how can you parallelize tasks, or do you really need this task during the cutover? So all that where the partners played a big role helping us and supporting us.
It's a team effort.
It's a team effort. It's a team game. It's okay. Here you call it football, soccer. We call it football in Europe, right? But it's a football game. You need your goalie and you need your guy who's scoring the goals. You need both.
Yeah. Being a Seahawks fan, I'll make a plug. It's not block and tackle. It's a team sport. Awesome. Great to hear, Ralf. Of course, we are all hearing about AI, right?
Yes.
Copilot, Joule, all the great things that are happening. And of course, we are on the top of the hype curve right now. Things were normalized. Customers like yourself start leveraging different scenarios, making them real. If you can share with the audience what's next. So you have done the hard part, right? The core migration.
Yeah.
Now what's next? What's the vision on AI?
Yeah.
where do you see yourselves business processes being, Nestlé business processes being leveraging technologies like Copilot and AI?
Yeah. So look, obviously you need to be on RISE to get Joule, right? That's one of the pitches, right? And you need to be on S4. So we have already some systems on S4, like central procurement. We have central finance, and there we are exploring right now how we could utilize Joule. We are also working quite intensively with Microsoft and SAP together now. How can we do the Copilot Joule integration? How can we make it work? Because from an end user perspective, we have 150,000 users, right? Look into your HR scenarios. Yeah, creating a leave request. Yeah, I go into my Outlook calendar and I write in holidays. Can Joule look at it and then automatically send an email to my manager, put it into SuccessFactors, and I'm done, right? Or I'm chatting with my boss on Teams and say, hey, can I go from leave? And he says yes. So how can I automate such tasks, right? So that you get your big user community going, that you create excitement with the user community, right? And then there's obviously the second part, the expert part, right? And then where do you take Joule and where do you take the Copilot Joule integration? So we are looking into these different scenarios, and we're looking into different use cases around Copilot and Joule. We have deployed Copilot to quite a significant amount of users. But already from day one, we used Azure OpenAI and deployed that to all of our 150,000 employees. We called it Nest GPT. So we were quite on the forefront there. But now we are also looking, how can I use it inside of IT? One of our success stories was not only moving to the cloud and getting our resilience up, we also invested quite heavily in business outcome-focused monitoring. Right, I have today a dashboard behind my desk which shows me, can we pay our people? It's the most important part. Can we produce? Can we ship? And can we sell? Right, these are the 4 key measures, and we're looking at it. And then we're drilling down all the way to the last router or switch, or even to our Azure environment to see what's actually going on, so we can troubleshoot really fast, really quickly. So now we're working together with Microsoft on something we call Ask What Matters. So we're actually starting to create a Copilot for our monitoring solution. And the cool idea behind it is, eventually when I'm an end user, I can sit on my laptop and say, hey, it's a bit slow. Yeah? And then the Copilot should tell me, hey, actually we can see there is an issue on your Wi-Fi antenna in your office. Should I open a ticket for you in SuccessFactors? The other one, ServiceNow. Same thing. But yeah, that's what we are working on. So we're exploring a lot of scenarios, a lot of how we can use Copilot to drive more efficiency, more resiliency, and from an IT perspective, chase this ultimate dream of 99.99 availability. And the promise I made to my team, when we achieve that, then I retire. So they're working very hard on it.
Awesome. No, great. Last but not the least, Ralf, I wish I could spend all the time talking to you. So inspiring. Open-ended question, any other advice to our partners as they're engaging with customers and really building that journey, as Nathan mentioned, right? 2027, we are on the cusp of end of support. Yeah. And the reality is there are early movers and there are always laggards in the industry, right? Yeah. So there will be some kind of scrambling happening soon as 2027 approaches. So any advice for our partners to build that sense of urgency and work with customers? Yeah, look, it's all about the timing, right? And get the timing right. So you need to understand what's the business benefit for the business, right? For us, right, S4, there is not, until Joule came, there was no business case for us. We just have to do it because of 2027. And I can't run a 90 billion Swiss francs company on an unsupported system, right? That is our case. And for us, it was important to split it up between moving to the cloud first and then do the upgrade, because it helps us to achieve the upgrade in a non-business impacting version. When you go out there as a partner and try to come up with a plan, consider that. Of course, if it's a greenfield implementation, you do it straight away in RISE, right? But we are in 2025, well, a month away. If you haven't started and you're talking about a multi-country scale, good luck in getting it done by 2027, right? So companies really need to wake up to the urgency.
But if it's a brownfield scenario or not a business transformation scenario, really don't try to sell them to do everything at once. You will set them up. You will set up yourself for failure, and you will set them up for failure. Really pace it. Get the building blocks right. We learned it in Nestle the hard way. Yeah, what means the hard way? It wasn't that bad. Our consumers still got all their products, but we had a lot of sleepless nights when we did that database, HANA, Simple Finance, and data center move at the same time. There wasn't much sleep for quite some time. So don't do that. Really pace it. Advise your customer. I mean, obviously, doing a greenfield approach for many companies is actually super important right now, because if I talk to a lot of other companies, they have so many different ERP instances. They don't have harmonized processes. If you want to leverage Copilot and Joule, good luck with such a messy system landscape.
Excellent. If you have time left, I might have Ralf back for some questions. But hey, Ralf, thank you.
You're welcome.
Round of applause. So team, we heard from our, one of the largest customers that we have on RISE on Azure. Great insights. Now let's quickly cover how are we investing in your success, right? Some of you partner with us very closely already, so thank you for being amazing partners, leveraging the investments we have. These are key to drive, as I said, sense of urgency with customers and really help accelerate your deployment journey, pre-sales and both deployment journey with customers. How many of you heard of Azure Innovate and AMM? Right. So those of you who don't know, these are our hero programs. Whether you are doing across the board, not just SAP, right? All Azure workloads, whether you are migrating the end user workloads, end customer workloads to Azure, or you're infusing AI into existing applications or new applications or analytics, Azure Migrate and Modernize and Azure Innovate are our hero programs. So please remember these two programs. We always hear that, hey, Microsoft programs are complex, right? There's so many. There is continuous effort to consolidate, offerings within these brands so that you have kind of simplified experience when accessing these programs. So SAP is no different, right? Actually, I'm proud to say we even have more for SAP because the unique needs of SAP RISE. So we have both programs within AMM and Azure Migrate and Modernize and Azure Innovate, and we have some unique programs. So I wanted to make sure we take, because this is a partner-oriented session, of course, I'm sure there are customers as well in this session, but we wanted to make sure, right, those of you who are not fully up to speed, you understand what investments and offers we have in place. So all the investments and offers you will typically see from Microsoft are aligned to our customer journey. So all the way from stage one, if you see listen and consult, which is really to help you drive top of the funnel demand generations for lead generation with your customers. We have SAP Campaign in a Box. You will find this in Partner Marketing Center, free of cost, available for you, co-brandable, right? So that you can really drive your campaigns. And we also provide a digital campaign. So for partners, those of you who don't have an in-house marketing team, you can actually leverage the platform to drive your campaign. Stage 2, assessments. So we have this available in AMM partner-led. Again, the whole idea is if you're doing a migration plan with your customers or even doing an architectural design session, you can seek that funding for every engagement that you do. Really kind of, the idea is to help subsidize the cost, right, of the assessment that you are doing with the customer. Stage 3. So SAP RISE, right, we all know we are all learning, right, as the industry has shifted towards RISE. We want to reward you for the work that you do during pre-sales. So if you are an incumbent partner or a new partner, it doesn't matter. But if you are involved in pre-sales and helping the customer choose Azure as the hyperscaler of choice for RISE implementation, we have stage 3, which is SAP RISE Partner Sales Incentive. So we provide you, for every engagement that you land on RISE, a sales incentive for the work that you do during pre-sales. Basically, the idea here is because it's a RISE scenario and sits on SAP's tenant, right? It's a third-party product. It's a SAP's own product. Sometimes you necessarily don't get the ACR credit, right? Because it's not running on customer tenant. So we came up with this unique incentive to reward you for the work that you do. To pay on deal closure, we don't even wait for the actual consumption to happen on stage 3, right? Stage 4 and 5, this is where significant investments come into play. We have Azure Migrate and Modernize partner-led, and we have also field-led. So for if you up to 100K funding needs, AMM partner-led is a great mechanism for you because AMM partner-led provides you a frictionless way to seek funding. There is no Microsoft seller involved. It's a self-service portal in Partner Center. You go to MCI, you nominate your customer, get approval from the customer, and the only point where Microsoft gets involved is during the proof of execution stage. So that's why the adoption of AMM partner-led is through the roof. It's a very popular program. And of course, for bigger size projects, right? We totally understand the magnitude and complexity of RISE projects, SAP RISE projects. So we have AMM field-led. Field-led really means that this is where a Microsoft seller will help you seek that fund, claim get that funding from Microsoft because it has a higher ticket size. So once you have done the core migration, right? So Nathan talked about it, Ralf talked about it, right? Hey, now you will start doing more value-add services for the customer, or you will work with your buddy partner, right? If you don't have that practice in-house, partner with somebody else and provide those services around data, analytics, AI going forward. So we have Azure Innovate to support those scenarios for Extend and Innovate. So kind of covering the whole spectrum of different incentives and offers. And of course, needless to say, we are always learning, we are always iterating, right? What's working and what's not working. These are by no means one constant set of incentives and offers. We always learn and iterate. I'll wrap it up, and then looks like we'll have questions. So I'll invite my colleagues and Ralf on stage after I wrap it up for questions, since we have time. So quickly on partner skilling, if you go to aka.ms partner skilling, we just launched a brand new training for SAP on SAP RISE on Azure. So it's a 2 half-day training, both covering from pre-sales to technical sales, and it's focusing on SAP plus Copilot and AI. So so please start leveraging those rich skilling programs available for you, and it's available on demand. So you can have you and your team start taking those trainings available. Specializations, those of you who are not specialized, please attain, because that gives you access to all the different incentives and offers. We are continuously learning and simplifying the requirements. We have simplified significantly over the last 12 months, and we continue to do so. So please complete that journey if you have not done that already. And last but not the least, you might take a picture of this. These are different SAP sessions. Some of them, of course, might have already happened. So go to your portal, Ignite portal, and consume them online on demand later on your plane ride or whatever, or back home. And some are still happening, so please consume them. With that, we'll open for Q&A. We still have a few times. I'll invite my colleagues back on stage. Thank you. I think you will have to come up to the mic, if I'm not mistaken, correct, for the Q&A? Anybody?
Good to get over here.
Yeah.
Hey, Ralf, can you tell us a little bit more about the rest of your infrastructure? Are you all running on Azure?
We're running. We have, so when we went to our journey to cloud, as we called it, we went all in with Microsoft, because quite frankly, if you want to move our size and complexity, if you would go for a multi-hyperscaler approach or something, not that there are others, right? But now we went everything into Azure. We did a really strong lift and shift, and very little, some re-platforming, but yeah, all on Azure.
Was it even because of the interconnect of your RISE platform and other services that you are using in Azure?
That was one of the consideration in the beginning. Certainly, it was. Yeah. I mean, it's two separate tenants, right? We have our own personal tenant, and then we have the RISE tenant. You still have the egress, ingress, right? But if you keep it inside of Microsoft, it's a bit cheaper than when you would go somewhere else.
Thanks.
Anybody else? If not, we'll be outside, and then I'll be in Microsoft booth opposite Theater D for next 4 hours. Lucky me. I'll be standing for 4 hours. I did that yesterday. It's a fun experience. So, hey, if you're around, come by the Microsoft booth opposite Theater D, and we can just sit down and talk.
Skand,
And don't forget, to also mention you are also welcome to join SAP and of course the Microsoft SAP team in the SAP tap room. You're going to find the room when you're walking towards the Marriott. They actually have a very nice space there. You can come there, hosting also a couple of sessions and some interactions there. They have good food, so feel free to join. You might need to go to the mic.
While you're walking up too, just one more quick comment, because I went a little fast. Skand's going to get mad at me because I went too fast. On one of the slides where the demo was, there actually is a link at the bottom of that slide that talks about your interest or gauging interest in a Copilot and 𝗦𝗲𝗀 private preview, which will be starting. I can't give a date yet of when that's actually going to kick off, but it's coming soon. I hate to say coming soon. But if you follow that link through the presentation, you can get on showing interest for you and your customer. So I just wanted to throw that out there, that's kind of if you want to get on the list to start to get into that community, as far as the coming soon, that's a good spot to do it.
Thank you. Question for Ralf. What was your proudest moment in the execution of this project, and what was your greatest fear?
Okay, there were two moments. So we started off with the first system, which was DSR, which was a massive box in our case. And again, we got it wrong. But it was great that the first migration we did, we failed, right? It was good because we learned so much. We rejected our plan. We still delivered on time, on budget. My proudest moment when it all was done and you started to get the recognition of the business. Right, our new CEO today, Laurent Fregz, he's one who I recognized us just earlier this year saying, hey, what you have done with Journey to Cloud and with your monitoring, I have so much more uptime in my zone. And that makes you feel good, right? If the business starts to recognize, not only from a business process perspective, but that the infrastructure and the efforts you have put into your infrastructure is paying off so much. Yeah, and it's incredible. And sorry, I'm going on a tantrum, but I have here in the US a factory. I don't get more than 8 minutes outage. If I have an 8 minutes outage, I lose roughly 2.5 million of raw and packaging material because I have to throw it away, I have to clean the line and start from scratch. So the pressure it puts on IT platforms or on IT, on Azure, on your networking, on whatever you do is incredible. Yeah, and that are some really proud moments for me to get that recognition and to see that the business actually feels that us infrastructure nerds are actually contributing, and makes it a whole lot easier for me as a job as a manager to get my team excited when they get such recognition and understanding how they help the business grow.
Awesome. With that, I think we'll wrap it up. Thank you. Thanks for coming to the session.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.